Cast your mind back to this time, this date, exactly a year ago. It's when Parliament went up in flames down in Cape Town. Repairs to the building are yet to start in earnest. Now, last year, after the fire, opposition parties were calling for an independent probe. So why is it taking so long? Where are we now? And what is the DA's Parliamentary Chief Whip, Siviwe Gwarube, I have to say about all these delays? And we're not anywhere closer. Siviwe, good to have you with us. All the best for the year. I suppose many are hoping that this is the year where we could see work being done on Parliament. Just help me understand what happened last year. There was meant to be an inquiry, an investigation, and work was meant to get underway. Why the delay? What's your understanding?
A very good day to you and to all your viewers and season's greetings. Yes, of course. You know, as we remember exactly a year ago today, Parliament was gutted by a fire. So both buildings of Parliament, including the one where we have our meetings of Parliament, so the parliamentary sittings. And after that fire, I mean, remember, if you cast your mind back, there was a lot of talk about the fact that there are two separate processes which are meant to take place. Number one is the criminal investigation, which of course the South African Police Service will be engaged with. And number two would be Parliament's own process, which would be an independent investigation that is looking at not just the criminal elements around what had happened in Parliament, but what had happened internally, what systems had not worked, and how this would be rectified. And throughout the year, it was always understood that these two processes are separate and that these two things should be done separately. But as we speak, we are yet to have an investigation, not only just an independent one as we had required, but also even a probe by Parliament itself, because you would think that an institution of this magnitude has something as big as this that basically destroys the building itself, would be very quick to say, look, let's find out exactly what has happened. Nonetheless, now where we are is we have Parliament essentially destroyed. A big part of the precinct still very much cordoned off. We have in use the Good Hope Chamber, which only sits and accommodates 150 members of Parliament. And of course, we know that there are 400 people that we need to accommodate. And we routinely gather in the Cape Town City Hall when there would be special sittings. And we're of the view that this is wholly unacceptable. And that, as we had indicated last year, we are approaching our own legal opinion around whether or not Parliament is not in contravention of the Constitution by allowing itself to simply operate in a limited manner.
So why do you think nothing has been done up to now? As you say, we're now heading towards a potential legal precipice and legal action on this. What have you been told as far as Parliament's concerned? What is taking so long? Is it a financial issue, not able to pay for these investigations? Is it red tape? Help me understand why there's been these delays.
Look, I mean, initially, I mean, and this was obviously understood because we're not experts on the matter, but initially for a very long time, Parliament was unable to even allow sort of investigators to get into the building or the rubble because of the dangers and the fact that, we were told that the whole place was still very much tenuous and that it was still very much a fire hazard. And so what you would, there were 2 months where, there was no work being done at all, where just essentially the place was cordoned off. And the Public Works, which was commissioned to obviously look after government buildings, as everyone would know, is a custodian of a building like a Parliament, then instituted a fact-finding mission so that they would find out exactly what had gone on, and also find out for us how long it would take perhaps to rebuild. And so really what has been done is that where it took us to basically October to firstly find out that Parliament had essentially been absolutely destroyed, in terms of, the expert view, and also that it would take about 2 billion rand to rebuild, and that it would take about 3 to 5 years to rebuild. We very much, obviously, we're looking, we welcomed the allocation by the Minister of Finance in the medium-term budgetary policy statement when he allocated 2 billion rand to Parliament for the rebuilding project. That is why, for us, it's a very big priority that as we start this year, that two things ought to happen. Well, three things ought to happen. Number one, we've got to find an alternative venue for Parliament that allows not only the members of Parliament to gather during the duration of the building process, but also allows members of the South African public to be able to access Parliament, because currently that is not happening. Number two, the big priority is going to be obviously the rebuilding project.
And as you say, the rebuilding project could be years in the making, but good to hear at least we're starting to get an idea of timelines as well. Siviwe, I'm going to say thank you very much. I think a year later it's important to remind all of us where we actually are in this process and why it's taken so long, but still we need answers as to why it's moving so slowly. But Siviwe, appreciate your time. DA Parliament Chief Whip Siviwe Gwarube joining